Hey everyone, it's John Heath here again for MiltonRose Learning with another Let's Learn lesson on the poem Homing by Liz Berry. Okay, so with this one you are coming back to my homeland of the Black Country, I might even get to roll out some of the accent with this one. So basically we're going to look at some of the key context and what was happening and when the poem was written. We will have a little poetry reading there and just get a feel for the kind of poem, and then we'll round off like always with our poetry annotations, which you can then just throw straight into your anthologies. Okay then, so yeah, this one is personal to me, I must confess, because I am actually from this area. So we have Liz Berry there, the poet, and then we have the Black Country, which is where I was born and raised. And the Black Country is an area of the West Midlands, as you can see, and it got its name, the Black Country, because it was one of the first centres in the Industrial Revolution to build factories, and they built loads, and it turned the sky kind of black from all the smog and smoke, hence the name, the Black Country, and it's kept that ever since, okay? So there you go. So right then, so first off then, in terms of context, the Black Country heritage and dialect. Now, in the area, in the Black Country, it has its own accent and dialect, which is quite difficult to understand. So it sounds a little bit like this, don't it? And that's a little bit of Black Country accent and dialect for you, just a little bit. I grew up listening to it, so it's very easy to follow, but for most people in the country, it's very difficult to follow. So there you go. So Liz Berry was born and raised in the West Midlands, like myself, and she uses her poetry to celebrate the rich rhythmic vocabulary and the linguistic heritage of the Black Country kind of working class culture and dialect. Okay, so she wants to celebrate it very much, because in the UK, if anyone's watching this around the world, in the UK there is a bit of stigmatism attached to the Black Country dialect. They say it makes you sound a little bit dumb and not very intelligent, and those kinds of things. You can debate it, to be honest, but nevertheless it does have that negative stigma attached, which I don't think it should, to be honest, because an accent doesn't tell you anything about things such as intellect and social class. But nevertheless, linguistic prejudice and reclamation then. So in British society, regional accents and dialects have historically faced class-based stigma, which I was just talking about, and pressure to assimilate. So I felt when I, for instance, I went for interviews at Oxford University, and it's very, very posh down there, but I was speaking kind of in my Birmingham kind of Black Country kind of accent, and it was accommodation theory. I did switch up the accent, and I did actually clean it up and sounded a little bit more received pronunciation because of the pressure to assimilate. So I can empathise and sympathise with that point. Berry counters this by treating local speech as sacred, poetic and worthy of pride. The Black Country even has its own flag. You can Google that. Because there is a lot of pride in the area for the language and for the working class culture. And then roots, belonging and the pull of home. So she uses the metaphor of homing pigeons who kind of find their way back home. The poem explores how maternal language and our native roots in the Black Country act as an emotional compass, grounding our identity no matter how far one travels. No matter where I go in the world or kind of, travel, I'll always be a boy from the Black Country, and that's what the poet would kind of would sympathise with in some ways. Okay, now let's have a little read of the poem. Okay, I'll do it maybe in two little chunks. Okay, so we can get it a little bit bigger. So first off then, let's have a read of the poem Homing. For years you kept your accent in a box beneath the bed, obviously metaphorically. The lock rusted shut by hours of elocution, like being learnt to speak nicely. How now, brown cow? The teacher's ruler across your legs. We heard it escape sometimes, the guttural ugh on the phone to your sister, saft or blart to a taxi driver. Saft is in Black Country dialect, that means silly or stupid. Blart means to talk, but it can also mean to cry as well. It depends on the speaker. Unpacking your bags from his boot. I loved its thick drawl, G's that rang. Clearing your house. The only thing I wanted was that box, jemmied open to let years of lost words spill out. Bibble, fittle, tay, wum, vowels, ferrous as nails. So those are all, again, Black Country kind of dialect words. So, for instance, tay is tea when you drink your tea, like, you know, from your nice cup. You could lick consonants. You could lick the coal from. I wanted to swallow them all. The pits, railways, factories thunking and clanging, the night shift, the red brick back to back you were born in. So these are all Black Country kind of memories because it was a very industrial area. I wanted to forge your voice in my mouth, a blacksmith's furnace, shout it from the roofs, send your words like pigeons fluttering for home. She wants to celebrate and kind of remember the Black Country accent of her relative. Okay, and why not? It's a very beautiful, I find it very poetic actually, but maybe I'm a little bit biased, but there you go. And we can see a typical kind of Black Country back-to-back home there in the industrial kind of heartlands. Now let's break down then the annotations. Opening lines and linguistic suppression. So for years you kept your accent in a box beneath the bed, the lock rusted by hours of elocution. Now the Black Country accent is seen as not being very poetic in the UK, and there is a lot of stigma attached to it. So he's felt like he hasn't been able to say his proper accent. So there's a concealment metaphor, the box under the bed where his Black Country accent lives. This frames the native dialect as a shameful secret, forced into hiding by social pressure because people think it doesn't sound very nice or intelligent. The institutional violence as well, just around that quote, and not far, it says the teacher's ruler across your legs. That means if you don't speak in an RP accent, then he would have got hit. You know, he'd have got slapped by the teacher's ruler, which would have been very painful. The satirical trope as well, how now, brown cow? That's because they were trying to teach him to get rid of the accent, and they're teaching him kind of the right way to pronounce the sound. So they're trying to get rid and erase the Black Country kind of accent there. The suppressed identity escaping though, you know, the Black Country dialect always comes out in some ways. It does if I get kind of agitated or excited in some way. We heard it escape sometimes, a guttural on the phone to your sister, saft or blart to a taxi driver. So the dynamic verb escape, it personifies the mother tongue, the Black Country dialect, as a captive force that inevitably breaks through any strict control. Okay, you might even hear it on some of these videos when I kind of get going occasionally. The dialect lexis, saft and blart, that grounds the poem in authentic Black Country vocabulary. There are websites where you can search a Black Country vocabulary which are quite amusing, linking true speech to moments of genuine emotion and family intimacy. He's using those words when he feels safe. Okay. The auditory appreciation of the Black Country dialect as well, G's that rang, it shifts the perspective from societal shame to an affectionate celebration of the regional phonetics of the Black Country region. Okay, fantastic in some ways. I really, you can tell I'm obviously quite passionate about this. The industrial lexis as well and the physical heritage, bibble, fittle, tay, wum, vowels, ferrous as nails, consonants you could lick the coal from. So there's a catalogue of dialect terms which she takes there from the Black Country dialect, and it actively documents and preserves those endangered regional vocabulary. If we stop using this Black Country dialect, it will die. Languages do die out if they stop to be used, and she wants to preserve it. I think that's the authorial intention behind this poem. The industrial simile and imagery, ferrous as nails and coal, that directly connects to the rugged sounds of the dialect of the Black Country's metalworking and mining history. This was a place of mining, glasswork, real industry. It was like the heartbeat of the Industrial Revolution in Britain. So it was a really important part. And visceral gustatory imagery, lick the coal. It treats language not as an abstract concept, but as something tangible. You can almost feel it, almost like a lump of coal. Okay, you can really feel her passion for this Black Country dialect. And then at the end, closing lines and reclamation. I wanted to forge your voice in my mouth, a blacksmith's furnace, shout it from the roofs, send your words like pigeons fluttering for home. So the industrial craft metaphor, the blacksmith's furnace, where you beat metal into shapes, transforms speech into an active process of reshaping and strengthening the ancestral legacy of our shared heritage, which is symbolised by the Black Country dialect. The simile as well of the home in pigeons, like fluttering for home, it echoes the poem's title, doesn't it? Almost like a cyclical structure. And it frames the dialect as an instinctive compass returning to its rightful origins. We should use the Black Country dialect, basically, because it's part of our cultural identity. And there's a defiant celebratory tone, shout it from the rooftops, completes the journey from quiet domestic suppression to a proud public cultural reclamation. Let's be proud of who we are as Black Country kind of people. Okay, and that's a lovely place to leave it. Okay, that was personal, that one. So you can hopefully understand my and the poet's passion for the Black Country dialect. It is a beautiful dialect in some ways, and it's been mistreated, I think, in the UK. It does need to be celebrated. So there you go. So obviously don't forget to hit the like, subscribe and tap the bell icon to never miss another Let's Learn video again. Please do share it with all your friends and kind of enjoy the poem. If you have any comments as well, please do just pop those into the comments box, and we'll always kind of reply to you. So it just remains to say, obviously, thanks for listening, take care, and we'll see you soon, Beb.